Hello.
La,
Is
la.
it me you're looking
Looking
for?
for.
I can see it in your eyes.
I can see it in your smile.
And I can see whatever.
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sweetie.
Hello again.
Yeah.
Hello again. Hello again.
Nice to see all of you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Everybody's looking awesome as
Yes,
always.
As always, thank you.
And today, let's talk about trust. Yeah. Mhm. So I was on this Facebook page and there was a question. Somebody asked. It was a man who has been married to a woman for years. And during that time, the woman lost trust and he doesn't trust her anymore. They were separated for a little bit. He made a decision to invite her back into the relationship because she asked for it. And now the question that he was posing was, how can I trust her again? Is there a book that I can give her to read? Is there a book that I can read? Is there anything I can do to gain, not gain, but for to help her gain trust in me? So, what are your
Wow.
Mm.
Very
interesting
interesting.
question?
Wow.
First of all, it's a pretty honorable man who's very generous to give her a second chance, right? As we know, if a woman decided not to be in a relationship, there's no stopping it. And I think we all know that, right?
Yeah.
So she asked him and he decided to take her back, but it looks like he wants to work on it just like her. So what are your thoughts on that?
So
Interesting.
sweet. Yeah. I'm so curious, like what the other, like he said it on social media. He asked people. I'm curious what the other people were saying to him to do. I don't know if you read it or not, but
I did. Basically, in there, he was primarily asking for books that he could read. And of course, I recommended How to Talk to Men, and he kind of laughed about it. He was like, so how would How to Talk to Men help me? And I said, well, first of all, it's good for you to read it, but also leave it in the bathroom. Maybe she'll find it and read it.
Good suggestion.
Yeah. So, and there were people that were sharing other information like therapy. There were people who were sharing things like how to set up boundaries. That was one of the things, because it's difficult to regain trust without setting up your own boundaries, because it always takes two, right?
That's true.
If someone broke your trust, you kind of gave them permission to, right? So thoughts?
So how many times we have to give a chance? This is just in your experience, or what do you think? Because for me, yes, I can give it one chance, and then second is like, okay, probably if the person keep doing that. Boundary, I love it. It works.
Yeah.
Yes, but if it's happen again and you are not following your boundaries, so it will not work. It's for me what I know. So usually I give it one chance, but what I know about men, when you give them, how to say, they are just looking what's work, what doesn't work. And if you keep giving that chance, they will use it. And it's, that's okay. Last time she said okay, and so I can do again. But the same with the woman, I guess. So
Yeah.
any human. So
Yes, absolutely. I think men and women, we all, Paulina, you wanted to say something?
No, go ahead. And yeah.
So this is about the boundaries. My son was 4 years old and it was Halloween time. So my aunt bought this big container full of lollipops. And there were these pumpkin lollipops, right? And so he walks over to my uncle, who he calls Grandpa. He says, Grandpa, can I have a lollipop? Because the lollipops are on the fridge, so he can't get them. So he walks over,
Sweet.
gives him a lollipop. It's there. can I have another one? So grandpa was like, okay. So he goes over, gives him another one. As they're walking out of the kitchen, he's standing there, can I have a third one?
Mm.
And he said, why do you need three? Like, just want to have three. Okay, here's a third one. As
Uh-huh.
he's walking away, he's like, can I have a fourth one to balance my hands?
Good song.
Okay, so he gives him a fourth one. And then he's standing there already with 4 lollipops. So then he looks up with the like very sneaky smile. Can I have another one? He looked at him, was like, get out of here. So, and he runs away without getting upset. So it's in our nature to push boundaries to see how far we can go. So as children, we already do that. Now, he stopped the moment that my uncle said no. But until then, he tried reasoning. So the first time he said, well, why do you need a third one or a fourth one? It's like to balance my hands. And each time he was coming up with a new reason. And it's just like, are we wrong for pushing boundaries? No. Without pushing boundaries, Columbus wouldn't have sailed the ocean, not blue, right?
Mhm.
And it's just in our nature. Now, how do you set up your own boundaries so that people don't lose trust with you? And I think in that situation with that man, we don't know the details, but with that man, most probably the boundaries were not clear, or if they were, he was letting it slide. And we all do that because we want to be nice.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, oh, it's okay. Let's be nice about it.
Mm.
Right. So what would you recommend for that husband?
Mm. I actually have a story too. It was actually with my daughter, and she's 13 years old, right? And so we had an agreement that we're gonna call each other in a like, let's say 3 times a week, right? At a certain time after school, we're gonna make a phone call, we're gonna connect, and for a week we did it. The next week when I called, she didn't pick up. Then she tried to call, I didn't pick up, and then it kind of like went, okay, no, nobody's calling, nobody's picking up. And then it was like I had this a little bit of like, it's like we made an agreement and now we're not keeping it, and it became a little bit like I don't know, it was like I felt like we were losing trust between each other. So I checked in with my partner, my man, and he actually noticed it on my face, and he said, you look a little concerned when you talk about your daughter. And I said, I do? He's like, yeah, it's something in the connection. And I said, we made this agreement that we're going to call each other 3 times a week, and it's been a few weeks and we're not doing it. He said, oh, so just make a new agreement.
That's so simple, right?
I know. I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, just give her a call, say, hey, let's acknowledge that we didn't call each other, this past week for 3 times, we didn't do it, and make an agreement that works. Say, I see it doesn't work. What would work for you? Should we do it 1 time a week and then see if that works? And that lit me up so much, I said, oh my God, that is so simple. Of course, make a new agreement. So then they called her and I said, and I, said everything. And I said, what would work for you? And she said, let's do it once a week. It's actually after school on Wednesday at 3:00. If you call me, that works. And so we started to do that, and that was working. And I felt so much more connected to her. I didn't have it in the back of my mind that something's wrong. So just making that clear agreement really worked.
It lights you up a lot.
Yeah.
And even tell about the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good story too, because it shows that you can really just make a new agreement. It's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
Of course, there are some things that might, if you didn't keep your word and the person ended up, like you're supposed to hold them over so they don't fall into the ocean. from the cliff, obviously. Well,
Good to trust them, huh?
there's no more agreement to be made, but hey, like you should have probably tested their trust before you
Yeah.
allowed them to hold you back, right? Oh, oops, can we make a new agreement?
Bye.
What?
That's a good one.
Right, like
Too late.
there's situations. So you know, at Sage we make small projects to test each other on trust. We test each other on when we're going to show up, the timing, and so on. So you do the same thing. And it's funny, like people get into a relationship and they don't look at those things. If you came to a date and each single time for the first 5 dates the other person showed up 30 minutes late, there be an issue with being on time?
I guess so.
So what I'm
Right?
hearing you're
So for-
saying, Aaliyah, is like that the people will show you with their action whether you can trust them or not.
Right,
Right.
right. And then, but then also it's not only that. It's once that action has been made, have you called them out on it? So if your date is late by 30 minutes, see, I'll be out of there by minute 5 because it's like, you do not show up late to, you know, a first date. Now you could call and say, I'm stuck in traffic, take a picture and so on. That's a different story. But if you don't show up and then they show up and they say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. And you're like, oh, that's fine.
Yeah, so next time you can do the same.
Oh no.
Yeah, you'll change once we get married. You know, like, right?
Oh,
Back to our mind.
oh.
It's okay. I'll
Oh.
fix that. That's not a big deal. So for me, yeah, you know, I've had situations where someone was late to the date. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, you're late. Yes, you're late.
Yeah.
There's going to be no next time if you're late again. And it's like, but then there's some kind of release in there too. It's like, oh, like she means it, right? So, but then if we don't call it out, so I'm curious about that particular situation we start talking about is, has he let her slide with things? You know, has he allowed her over and over, or is it just one time? So we don't know the details of it. But overall, what works for me is I call it out and I give another chance. But there's, like Guzal said, for me, there's no second chance. There's just a second chance. And see ya.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's depend from the situation. Like you say, you are near the cliff, right? And you say, "Oh, let's change agreement or something."
yeah.
Else. Like, okay, late. What else? What kind of other situation can be? I'm just like, okay, you promised me to make a dinner, but you didn't, or something like that. It can be more simple, or maybe it can be more, complex. It's like,
Get out of my house. But
yes, you didn't
for
cook.
20 years and I didn't make it through. I said,
Where's my dinner?
Yeah, you didn't make my spaghetti or something else, or you didn't wash the dishes or something. So it's just, but again, it's really, I love what you say, Paulina, about rearrangement. Yeah, just create a different agreement, because sometimes we think we can do it, but when it's come real and you say, oh my God, it didn't work. And also what works, like speak up, like tell, not to, walking around with like getting mad and like you have to, guess why am I mad? Like women do that all the time, many times.
of course.
So it's better, yeah.
That's very important. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
We're like all so excited about the topic.
Okay, your turn, Alia, your turn.
Pick me. Mhm.
Okay, you're up.
What you said is really, really important. Like, how do you say it? To use that date situation, I'm not like, you you're late. It's more like, of course, oh yes, you are late, but there's going to be no second time. So it's a playful kind of banter, but it's setting up your boundary immediately so that next time when you show up, there's going to be no misunderstanding. Right?
Yes. Mhm.
Or if you want to test, so you don't have to. I mean, everybody play different game, and each woman they have their own game. It's like, okay, let me see what will be next, because sometimes it really happen because you don't want to, but usually the person he's on time, and it happened with me too. Like I always on time, but sometimes happen 5 minutes late, not 30, of course. But at the same time, I was like, okay, let me see what's the next time. Like next time we will meet each other. If it's again the same, then probably it will work. Because how I say is like it's just the first date and you don't know the person, and right away say, you know what, for me, like, okay, I don't know this person, and again it's depends the date or the business, right? That's also
Mhm.
different. So that's usually that's I'm talking about my style. Okay,
Mhm.
first time, if he will be late, I will tell maybe. It's like you said, playful, and give another chance. And if it's again happens, like, then that will be the last one, I guess.
I wanted to share something. So my man was sharing on one of the videos about this whole, like, since we're talking about being late, and he was like, really, like, I cannot stand when people don't show up on time. And I'm watching the video, I'm like, really? So, and as I'm listening, the continuation of that is he's sharing how he used to be late all the time,
Wow.
every single time, and that used to be such a big trigger for arguments and conflicts in our house before I learned how to talk to men, right?
Mhm.
And I just remember one day I was working with Guzal, and she said, well, like, why is it bothering you that he's late? And I said, well, because we have to be somewhere and he's late, and that looks really bad on me and on him and our family and so on. She said, well, don't you have 2 cars? I said, yeah. She's like, well, why don't you get there by yourself?
Mhm.
I'm like, what? But it's not good to show up, to a guest's house without your
Yeah.
partner or your
Mhm.
kids. And she's like, who cares? What's more important, for you to show up on time, or for you to show up with your family? And I was like, I don't know actually which one is more important. So I kind of sat with it, and then I decided that it was more important for me to show up on time.
Wow.
So
Wow.
one day I said, I'm leaving at 6. And nobody's ready at 6. I get in my car and I leave. 15
They're like,
minutes
whoops.
later, I get a phone call. Well, where are you? Where's the car? I said, I am 5 minutes away from our destination. What? Like, what about us? I said, you have a car. You can get there. I said, I'm leaving.
Nice.
Then I left. I did it twice. One time didn't work. 2 times worked. Ever since then, now he makes it a point to be ready 30 minutes before me. It's hilarious. But then also, even before that, there was one other situation that had to happen. Was I thought, like, but if I do want to be somewhere with him, like
Mhm.
where it's more important, so I just started telling him that we have to leave 30 minutes earlier.
Nice. Yeah.
That's very
It
Instead of
sounds like a way that works.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
played with it, and
Yeah.
I said, okay, we got to leave at 5:30. We got to leave at 5:30. So at
Yeah.
5:45, he's like panicking, running around the house, like, we're not leaving yet. I said, well, I actually told you 30 minutes earlier. So now he's asking me, he's like, do we have to leave at 5:30 or 6? I need to know that.
Yeah.
No. That's the secret.
Yeah.
Well, he's now trained to be on time, so he will do, like, now I tell him it's 6. And now sometimes I'm kind of over counting, like overestimating my time. So we help each other keep on time, keep each other on time.
Wow. And look how much it lights you up, that you trained him and that you like created this game.
You do it.
And
No.
it's quite effortless, right? So
Yes.
just for people who are watching to see that it's quite effortless if you stand your ground and if you see what matters to you, which is coming back to boundaries, right? That you could actually make a lot of fun with your family, with your man, with anybody, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's about about fun, because in the old version, what we did before is just like what usually people do. They start fighting. They don't have it. They no fun. They are mad, and they're going together to visit someone, and everybody like look at them, look at yours. What happened?
Mhm.
It doesn't work. But how you did, like, it's more playful, and you just create the game
Yes.
also.
Always
So
goes
they
back.
can remember.
I
Yeah.
remember in the past it used to be me. We're late again.
Yes.
I remember.
Louder, much
Good.
louder.
Yeah, good feedback goes out, by the way, to Aaliyah. You know, it's like, how many cars do you have?
Right, like it was so simple.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what? We could go in 2 cars? Like we don't have to go in the same car? Seriously?
Mhm.
It's so simple. Just because that specific programming is in the mind.
Mhm.
Um,
And also when she asked you about the, like, what matters to you more, being together with your family to show up there or being on time?
yes.
And then it became clear, it's like, oh, I don't know. And then you had to look into it to set up that boundary, right? So that you could choose,
Yes.
okay, that's more important. That was an awesome question that you asked her.
Then you set up together, like, and of course in family, and on time, to be on time and be with your family also important. But what did you just create the game, so both you get win-wins from all over.
Yes.
That way.
Yes. And that's another thing. It was just talking about like what would light you up. So I in a way I knew it was important for him to show up together. So when I left the first time without him, he had to make adjustments to be on time. And the funniest thing is when he was sharing this, he was so lit up. Always on time about this. So I'm like, all right, that works. So going back to that story again, I mean, all of these stories, they kind of tie back to what this man is dealing with. Is he definitely can give her another chance. From what I can see is just, he can create a game for her and set up boundaries, but then if she doesn't respect the boundaries, then there's a question of, is that the person that I want to be with?
Yeah.
Is that really someone I want to spend the rest of my life with?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and he can get a lot out of reading a How to Talk to Men book.
Yes.
Yes.
We had to talk to men, watching our shows maybe.
Yeah.
So I'll try to share that with him as well. And thank you so much, girls, for
Thank
sharing.
you.
As always,
That
we
was
are
excellent
out of
question.
Oh, no.
out of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Well, thank you for joining.
Thank you so much.
Until next time.
Everyone. Bye bye.